Endless Livebearers are a stunning fish closely related to the guppies. Although people call them guppies, they're not actually guppies, but rather a subspecies. They both look very similar, just that Endlers are a bit smaller. This makes them great for your nano aquariums going all the way down to 5 gallons. This makes them a great beginner fish, but you still got to make them happy. So today I'm going to show you how to care for and breed this stunning little fish. Alright, now the Endless Livebearers, also known as the Percilia wingi, I probably just butchered that name, but they originate from waters in Venezuela, but they're not massive waterways. The really interesting thing is though, that the Endless Livebearers did evolve from guppies, so they are a lot like guppies, just that they're much smaller and they look a little different. Alright, with these fish, the males only grow to about 3 to 4 centimeters, and the females will get a bit bigger, around the 5 to 6 centimeter mark. It all depends. Sometimes the Endlers can actually grow massive in some people's tanks, but a standard setup that will make your Endlers really happy. This is just a general guideline, so I recommend at least a 5-gallon tank, but 10 gallons preferably if you want to breed them and maximize the breeding and breed them for profit, that sort of thing. If you're just keeping them for fun and you just want a couple males or just a male and 2 female, then you can just put them in a 5-gallon really easily. When it comes to temperatures, you'd rather have a heater in your aquarium, but you don't really have to. So these fish will thrive all the way down to 18 degrees Celsius. That's about 64 degrees Fahrenheit, and they can thrive in any temperatures all the way up to 28 degrees Celsius, 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Now with the general layout, you want to have some hardscape in there, which means rocks and wood. And then when we're talking about aquarium plants, I recommend you have a lot of them in your aquarium. Just make sure half the tank is swimming space for the fish, but the other half I recommend to have lots of plants, because Endler Guppies do like to hype each other up a lot, and they'll start chasing each other around and tiring each other out. And when you've got all that plants and hardscape, they can make many different hiding places just to get a rest from the others, and that way they're not going to lose all their energy and die. Now these fish do come from saltier water, so they will absolutely love you if you give them a high pH. But in this aquarium, I've only got a neutral pH. They're still doing really well in breeding and looking really healthy. If you want the happiest Endlers and you don't have live plants in your tank that aren't too finicky, unlike my plants, then I recommend adding crushed coral, or you can get pH up from API or some product out there, but it's more natural to use just crushed coral that you can buy from your local fish store. Add some of that in the back of the tank or into the filter, and that'll buffer the pH, hopefully raise it. And you can go to your local fish stores and they'll measure the pH in your aquarium with their test kits, or you can buy one yourself from API. I'll leave the link in the description. Now tank mates wise, they'll really go with any fish that are suitable for the size of the tank that the Endlers are in, but also any fish that's really peaceful and won't bother the Endler Guppies will be really fine. Endler Guppies are also very peaceful. They leave the other species of fish alone in the tank majority of the time. Basically any small peaceful fish that doesn't get above 5 centimeters should be absolutely fine with your Endler Guppies. And now when it comes to food and feeding, it's not that hard. So what I feed my Endler Guppies is just some small little granules. They're absolutely tiny, but yeah, these fish do have very small mouths. You want to give them crushed flakes or just very fine pellets or granules, and they'll love you for it. Also chuck in some live or frozen foods too. You can culture live foods easily like brine shrimp or microworms, and you can also readily buy frozen foods from your local fish store too, and they'll absolutely love some bloodworms or brine shrimp. Now let's get into the breeding side of things. Let's first of all show you how to sex these fish, and it's not hard. And these fish are live bearers, meaning they do give birth to live young. These fish don't actually lay eggs, but rather the eggs develop inside their stomach, kind of like a mammal, but they're not a mammal. They don't produce milk and that sort of thing. But yeah, the babies will come straight out of the mother's belly. But to sex these guys, you can see on the picture on the screen, the female will have a triangular fanned out anal fin, and the males will have a stick-like anal fin called a gonopodium. Other way you can tell is that males will be really colorful and have a small body, whereas females will look pretty plain. Sometimes they do have coloration. Rarely do they ever have coloration on the tail though. They're a bit bigger than the males, and yeah, it's pretty obvious when you look at them side by side. Now to breed these guys, it doesn't really take much. There's all sorts of methods you can use, but just to let you know that Endler Guppies will eat their own fry, so keep that in mind. They are cannibals. They are pretty dumb, meaning that they'll see a fry swimming in the tank and they'll think it's food, and usually they'll swim up and eat it if they're feeling hungry. So what do? Add lots of plant coverage in your aquarium so that when the females do give birth, let them give birth naturally. Just keep feeding the adults. Make sure the tank is around 22 to 25 degrees Celsius, and then you'll find some babies one morning when you turn the light on, and it'll feel amazing. When you do see baby Endlers in your tank, what you can do is crush up your flakes or granules even more. Just make sure it's like fine powder food, and sprinkle that on the surface too, and maybe stir up the surface a little so some of it sinks. and the babies will go to the surface and try and get as much food as they can without trying to get eaten by the adults. Or you can buy prepared powder foods from your local fish store. It's up to you, but if you want to start a whole colony of guppies and potentially breed them for profit and make some pretty good money, then click the video on the screen now. But otherwise, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you all in the next video.